こんにちは、ハリケーンフットボールです。今回の教材は、リバプールの遠藤航に関する動画です。リバプールは FA カップも敗退していたため、週末の試合もなく、インターナショナルウィーク明けで、少し長めの休息をとっています。そんな中でも遠藤航に関する噂が断続的に報道され、今回はコートオフサイドでの記事を引用しながら、アンフィールドアジェンダのクレイグがリアクションをしています。遠藤航に興味を示すクラブがどんどん増える中で、リバプールも移籍金の金額次第では売却する考えもあることも事実のようですので、あとは、いつ、どこに、いくらで、ということかと思いますし、遠藤好きのクレイグもできれば残ってほしいという気持ちもありつつも、それも移籍金次第だと話します。まだ噂の話でもあるため、あまり深く話しているわけではありませんが、実際にどのように話しているのか、チェックしてみましょう。
What is up, my friends? You are very welcome along to Sunday night's late night news roundup here on Anfield Agenda, where we're going to be giving you some developing news around interest in ENDO from a Premier League club. We're also going to be linking Liverpool to a Serie A midfielder and a couple of other interesting bits and pieces, including the fact that we may have a free run at Alexander Isak. That and lots more to come over the next few minutes, but you know what I'm going to say. We do want to know your thoughts on all of these subjects, so once you've watched the video, please let us know in the comment section. Drop a like if you enjoy it, and most importantly, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So, right, I'm going to get into a story that is just an interesting one, really, to kick us off, and that is about John Terry speaking about his Mount Rushmore of Premier League defenders. Surprisingly or unsurprisingly, he has included Liverpool's Virgil van Dijk, and this is what he had to say. I'm going to go with Virgil van Dijk in terms of a bit more of a modern era to myself and Rio Ferdinand. The game looks easy for him, very comfortable. I think he's a top player. And I just wonder, in the pantheon of great centre-backs of the Premier League era, your Carvalhos, your Ferdinands, your Terrys, your Campbells, where does Virg fit in? Is he right at the very top? Because I would argue he'd certainly be in any greatest centre-back pairing of the Premier League era. So was Virgil the very best to do it in the Premier League, or were there others who maybe deserve a bit more credit? Let me know in the comments. So we're going to move on now to the situation with Wataru Endo. As we've said many times, he may move on this summer, he may not. But Caught Offside have put out a very interesting report to say that Endo is wanted by Fulham, Ipswich Town and Wolves. Despite his pedigree as a defensive midfielder, Endo has spent most of the current season on the bench, with Slot opting for other midfield options. The lack of game time has led to growing speculation about his future at Anfield, this piece says. It's clear that the 32-year-old is eager to play regular football, especially as he enters the latter stages of his career. So, as well as Fulham, Ipswich Town and Wolves, we know that Eintracht Frankfurt are interested. So, do you think we lose Wataru this summer? And Wataru, excuse me, I keep calling him Wataru, my apologies. Wataru, do we think we lose Endo this summer? And what type of price tag do you think Liverpool could expect to get for the Japanese international? Personally, I'd like him to stay around. I think he's a modern closer, a modern James Milner. But if Endo wants more game time, well, I guess Liverpool need to find a move that works for him and a move that, of course, works financially for the club. So how much would you sell Endo for if a Premier League club in particular came a knocking in this summer's transfer window? I'd say we could probably make a profit on what we bought him for, but be interested to see what you guys think. So I want to move on to Matheus Cunha for a moment, because he was done a little bit dirty by Fabrizio Romano. Romano putting up quotes from him that don't really give the full context of what he said. So basically Cunha was talking about wanting to push on and move to a club where he's going to be challenging to win trophies. But this is the full context of what he said. I had a lot of offers, but I wouldn't feel well if I had done it. And he's talking about leaving in the January window. Some things you cannot control, but I couldn't leave the club in the middle of the season in a difficult situation in the relegation zone. He went on to say, now we're closer to achieving our goal of staying up. I've made it clear I need to take the next step. I want to fight for titles, for big things. I have potential. And he does indeed have potential, but where that move is going to be, I'm not sure. Liverpool, at this minute, look like we're going for Isak. Arsenal, what I'm going to move on now to talk to you about a developing story that David Ornstein put out to say Arsenal have strong interest in Victor Gyökeres as a possible striker signing. He goes on to speak about Arsenal's new sporting director, Andrea Berta, who came in from Atleti, and they said Arsenal have interest in the 26-year-old. So, if Arsenal, let's say, move for him, and Liverpool are looking for Isak, Where does Cunha end up? Does he go back maybe over to Spain, end up with Atleti or something? I don't know, but it's an interesting one. We know he has a release clause of about £62.5 million. So let us know your thoughts on this. And of course, on the news that if what David Ornstein said about Arsenal going after Gyökeres is true, and I've no reason to believe it isn't, does that give us a free run at Isak? It's all very well and good saying a free run. Newcastle still have to be willing to sell, but if Arsenal aren't in the mix and nobody else really has the dough, surely Liverpool won't really have too much competition then, other than convincing Newcastle to part ways with their prized asset. So let me know your thoughts on that. Do you think Gyökeres would be a success at Arsenal, and would that signing worry you? So, bit of good news now before we move on to the Serie A midfielder that I was mentioning at the start of this video. The Anfield Wrap posted earlier on to say that Conor Bradley has been back in training since Wednesday, which is great news. We had a poll tonight on the channel and we said, when Conor Bradley and Trent are both back fit, what do you do for the rest of the season? Do you play Conor Bradley? Do you play Trent Alexander-Arnold? Or do you rotate between both? And 67% of people said that they would play Conor Bradley. And the thought process seemed to be that, why give minutes to a player who's not going to be here when we need to get a good look at Bradley and see how he fits in with the rest of the team over these last 9 games to give us more certainty about what we might need to do in the right back situation. This wouldn't be a case of screw Trent, he's off, but more a case of us being selfish as a club and looking at it and thinking, well, there's more benefits to playing Conor Bradley because we get to see how much we can rely on him and how good he really is here in the title run in. That would be my take on it anyway, but interested to know what you guys think. Overall though, very good news to hear that Conor Bradley has been back training since Wednesday. You know, whether he's fit enough to start, I'm not sure, but again, if he's in the matchday squad, that'll be a great boost for Arna. So, Transfer News Live have put out a post crediting Gazzetta dello Sport in Italy, and this piece here said that Liverpool are mulling over an offer of around €40 million for Lazio midfielder Nicolo Ravella. And I know absolutely nothing about this guy. So I need your help here. Anybody who watches Serie A, you certainly watch a lot more of it than I do. Let us know your thoughts on this one. €40 million is what they're saying. Nicolo Ravella. Good enough? Not good enough? What type of midfielder is he? And more importantly, do we need to bring in another midfielder? We've got Stefan Bajcetic coming back. If Elliott moves on, then yeah, you could probably bring in another attack-minded midfielder, but as I said, being completely honest, I've no idea about Nicolo Ravella. But €40 million sounds like a realistic amount of money. It's right there in the sweet spot for FSG of about 30 to 35 million quid. So let me know your thoughts on that one. And that is pretty much it for this evening, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back tomorrow, normally at 8:45 for the late night agenda. So I hope you can join us for that. The preview for the Everton game, as I mentioned, is coming out at 10 AM in the morning. And we'll have another news video coming up as well. But all roads lead to the Merseyside derby this Wednesday. It's an 8 PM kickoff. We'll be live from 6:45 here on the channel to take you through the game, match reaction, player ratings and everything else you would expect. I'm so excited. It's been too long since the Reds have played. It's been weird this weekend watching the FA Cup games but no Premier League games. So all roads lead to that massive game. One step closer to the league title. I want 2 wins this week. 1 against Everton, 1 away against Fulham. And then we can start counting down. Only 3 more to go if we get those wins. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. We will see you tomorrow as well. Appreciate your support. Much love. Bye-bye. Oh, and don't forget about our live shows. You can get the tickets with a link in the description. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
次は解説です。他のチャンネルをいろいろ見た後にクレイグの英語を聞くと、毎回のように聞きやすいなと感じますが、皆さんはいかがでしょうか。難しいボキャブラリーもあまり使いませんが、知っておくと便利なボキャブラリーや表現をピックアップしていますので、本日の解説をチェックしてみましょ
う。And a couple of other interesting bits and pieces in...
ビッツ&ピースは日常会話でとてもよく使われる表現で、いろいろな小さなものや細かい情報の断片という意味を持ちます。例えば、引っ越しの時に、細かいものを全部まとめたよというような場面でも使えますし、会話であの人についてちょっとした話を聞いたといった情報にも使え、ネイティブはこの表現をたくさんは話さないけど、いくつか小さなことを知ってるといったニュアンスで使います。シングスやスタッフよりも少しカジュアルで親しみやすく、自然な言い回しになります。
And a couple of other interesting bits and pieces and a couple of other interesting bits and pieces in his Mount Rushmore of Premier League defenders.
マウントラッシュモアはアメリカの象徴的なモニュメントで、歴代大統領の顔が彫られた有名な岩山です。英語の会話やスポーツ、エンタメの分野では、比喩的にトップ4、四天王、殿堂入りレベルの偉人たちという意味で使われます。文化的、歴史的な教養を感じさせながらも親しみやすく、ネイティブがよく好んで使う言い回しです。単に観光名所として覚えるだけでなく、このような会話の中での使い方も押さえておくと、表現の幅が広がります。
His Mount Rushmore of Premier League defenders. His Mount Rushmore of Premier League defenders in the pantheon of great centre-backs of the Premier League era.
パンテオンという単語は、もともとギリシャ神話などで、神々の神殿という意味がありましたが、今では比喩的に使われることが多い表現です。日本語で言う、殿堂入り、レジェンド、偉人たちといったニュアンスに近く、文学、スポーツ、映画など様々な分野で登場します。知的な響きがあり、ネイティブも好んで使う言葉なので、スピーチやライティングで使えるとワンランク上の表現になります。少しフォーマルですが、教養ある印象を与える言葉です。
In the pantheon of great centre-backs of the Premier League era, despite his pedigree as a defensive midfielder.
ペディグリーはもともと動物や人間の血統や家系を表す言葉ですが、最近ではビジネスやキャリアの文脈でもよく使われます。例えば、ある企業が技術的なペディグリーを持っているといえば、技術分野での優れた実績や信頼できる背景があるという意味になります。また、サッカー選手などが優れたペディグリーを持つといえば、育成クラブや代表経験などの経歴を指すこともあります。ネイティブはこの言葉を使って、単に血筋だけでなく、信頼できる背景、由緒、実績のニュアンスを上品に伝えるのです。
Despite his pedigree as a defensive midfielder, with slot opting from other midfield options.
オプトは、選ぶ、選択するという意味の少しフォーマルな動詞で、日常会話でも使われますが、特にビジネスや公的な文書、ニュース英語でよく登場します。オプトフォーは何かを選ぶ。オプトトゥードゥは何かをすることに決める。オプトアウトはサービスなどから辞退する、離脱する、何かを選択しないようにするなど、前置詞や不定詞との組み合わせで使い方が広がります。チューズよりも慎重で意思的な選択というニュアンスがあり、メリット、デメリットを考慮して自分の意思で決めたという印象を与える言葉です。
With slot opting from other midfield options, if Arsenal aren't in the mix and
in the mix は、スポーツやニュース、ビジネスシーン、日常会話でもよく使われるカジュアルな表現で、候補に入っている、争いに加わっている、選択肢の中にいるなど、ある状況の中にあるという意味で使われます。サッカーの優勝争いや、会社での昇進レースなど、何かの競争や選択の中で使われることが多いです。また、要因の一つになっているといったニュアンスもあり、比喩的に幅広く使える表現です。ネイティブの自然な口語に触れたい人は、覚えておくと便利でしょ
う。If Arsenal aren't in the mix and nobody else really has the dough.
ドーはもともとパン生地という意味ですが、日常会話ではスラングとしてお金という意味でも使われます。マネーよりもカジュアルで、やや砕けた印象のある言葉です。特にアメリカ英語でよく使われ、ドラマや映画の中では品質表現ですが、フォーマルな場面では避けるのが無難です。スラングを学ぶことで、英語らしい自然な会話力がぐっとアップします。
Nobody else really has the dough to part ways with their prized assets.
パートウェイズは、直訳すると、道を分かつですが、実際には、関係を終わらせるや、別れるといった意味で使われるフォーマルかつ丁寧な表現です。人との別れはもちろん、企業と従業員、スポーツクラブと選手、アーティストとレーベルなど、広い文脈で使われます。直接的に、解雇したなどと言わず、柔らかく伝えられるのが特徴で、ニュースやビジネス文書、スポーツ報道でもよく登場する便利な表現です。
To part ways with their prized assets. This wouldn't be a case of screw Trenties off.
スクルーオフは、失せろ。どっか行けなど、イライラや怒りを伴って相手を追い払うときに使う強めの口語表現です。日常会話では滅多に使わず、ドラマ、 映画などの喧嘩や険悪なシーンでよく耳にしますが、感情的なニュアンスが強いため、使う場面には注意が必要です。Go away や Leave me alone などのソフトな表現に比べて、かなりぶっきらぼうで攻撃的な印象を与えるので、基本的には使わずに、聞き取れるようになることが大切です。英語圏ではこのようなスラングも日常的に飛び交っているため、映画や YouTube で自然に触れることで表現に慣れていくのがおすすめです。
This wouldn't be a case of screw Trent, he's off. This wouldn't be a case of screw Trent, he's off. But Liverpool are mulling over an offer of around 40 million euro.
丸オーバーは何かを軽く考えるのではなく、じっくり時間をかけて検討する場面で使われる丁寧な言い回しです。例えば、転職のオファーをもらったとき、買い物で大きな決断をする前、あるいは人生の選択に関わるような時に使われます。ネイティブは、シンクアバウトやコンシダーよりもフォーマルかつ深く考えるニュアンスでこの表現を使います。日常会話、ビジネス英語、アカデミック英語、どの場面でも使える万能なフレーズなので、ぜひ自分の語彙に取り入れておきたい表現です。
That Liverpool are mulling over an offer of around 40 million euro. Liverpool are mulling over an offer of around 40 million euro. It's right there in the sweet spot for FSG.
In the sweet spot は何かがちょうどいい位置や理想的な条件にあるときに使われるとてもポジティブな比喩表現です。ビジネスでは価格の最適解。日常会話ではちょうどいいタイミングや居心地のいい状態など幅広く使われます。ネイティブは自然にそれはまさにベストというような感覚で使うのでカジュアルな表現に取り入れると英語力が一気にこなれて聞こえます。直訳ではなく状況に応じて理想的な絶妙な一番いいポイントと訳すのがコツです。
It's right there in the sweet spot for FSG. It's right there in the sweet spot for FSG.
いかがでしたか？遠藤航が移籍する可能性も少なくはないと思いますし、起用のされ方からも本人が移籍したいと考えているだろうと思うことも自然でしょう。これまではタイトルを取るためにリバプールにいることが、リバプールでのキャリアがどれだけ大きものかを実感しているような話が多かったと思いますが、これだけ低くてあまたになり、タイトルやチャンピオンズリーグが狙え、あるいはプレミアリーグでの中堅クラブで出場機会が増えそうであれば、その選択肢を考えないことはないでしょう。実際に遠藤がベストだと考える移籍先であれば、良い移籍になるだろうと想像もできますので、控えの位置でもリバプールに残るということも、個人的には嬉しいと思いますので、いずれにしても遠藤の決断を楽しみにしたいと思います。まずは今シーズンのプレミアリーグ制覇という大きすぎる目標がありますので、残りの試合を漏れなく噛み締めながら楽しみたいと思います。本日もご視聴いただきありがとうございました。またすぐにお会いしましょう。